What's up everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Harley-Davidson's model lineup. Harley-Davidson has a ton of models across a couple different what they call families. They got the Sport family, the Cruiser family, the Adventure Touring family, the Grand American Touring family, and each one of those families has their own little unique qualities to them. They're kind of designed for a certain purpose, for a certain type of rider, and they also have different models within all those families to make sure that they can satisfy basically everybody's needs. The only thing that's kind of difficult about that from a consumer standpoint is if you're new to Harley, like I am. Not very long ago, I'd never ridden a Harley before, and I looked at all these different models and I was kind of overwhelmed. I didn't know what the point of all the different families were, what they were all designed to accomplish. It kind of took me a lot of research and looking into a lot of things to figure out kind of the lane that I want to be in within the Harley-Davidson lineup. So my goal with this video is to help you learn the things that I've learned, maybe in a little bit shorter period of time. But before we go any further, I'd like to mention the sponsor for this video, and that is Big Moose Harley-Davidson, right in Portland, Maine. One of the things that you might not know about Big Moose Harley-Davidson is that they're part of a 5-dealer network of Harley-Davidson dealerships, and they can transfer inventory between all their dealerships. So let's say you take a ride on a bike that they have in stock and you really love that model, but maybe it's not in the color you want, or maybe it doesn't have all the features that you were looking for, and another dealer in their network has it. They could transfer that bike in for you so you can just stay right there in Portland, Maine and get whatever you need. I highly recommend you go down to Big Moose Harley-Davidson. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at Harley-Davidson's lineup. Alright, so let's just dive into the first family that Harley has listed on their website. We're going to start off with the Sport category right here. So they recently changed this up a bit when they came out with this new Sportster S. It's kind of in a class all by itself now. The Sportster class used to have a few more bikes in it. Those all got moved into the Cruiser category, and the Sportster S is now kind of the lone bike in the Sport family, which makes sense because it's definitely a bit more performance oriented, and a sportier bike. It's kind of putting the Sport back in Sportster. So this bike is for anyone that just likes ripping around on back roads, canyon carving, things like that. It's also good for guys that are commuting a lot. So if that's the type of riding that you're going to be into, this bike's perfect for you. So here we've got the Cruiser family. These three across the top here, the Iron 883, Iron 1200, and the 48 are all what used to be considered Sportsters. Since they came out with the new Sportster S, like I said, they kind of put that in a family all by itself, since it is pretty radically different bike from the rest of the bikes that Harley makes. So these are kind of now the, I guess you'd call them the entry level or beginning of the Cruiser line. One thing you're going to notice on all of them is a much smaller fuel tank, so you're going to have a range of 80 to 100 miles depending on how you're riding, whereas most of the Cruisers and touring bikes are going to have a range in the 200 to 300 mile range depending on how you're riding and where you're riding. That's one of the big differences. They have smaller engines than the rest of the Cruisers. They don't have the Milwaukee 8, which the rest of the Cruisers come with, and they're much smaller bikes than the rest of the Cruisers. So once you get past those three, you get into the Softail models. All of these here, these 8 are all Softails. What does that mean? So Harley-Davidson used to make hardtail bikes. There was no shock in the back. There was no suspension on the rear of the bike at all other than the springs under your seat. Well, the Softail is basically designed to mimic that look but still give you a suspension. So they have a monoshock suspension that's hidden under the rear seat so you don't see the suspension, and that's to mimic that hardtail style from back in the day. All of the Softails are built on the same frame, but they are all set up a bit differently. So even though the Softail lineup does have a lot of similarities, there are some pretty significant differences between the models. I have personally ridden the Softail Slim and the Lowrider S. The Softail Slim gives you much more of a relaxed cruiser feel, and the Lowrider S feels a bit more aggressive. It feels like you're going to be ripping around some back roads and canyons a lot more with that. They built it to be a lot more aggressive feeling. Even though they share the same frame, they do feel very, very different. I haven't had a chance to ride any of the other Softails yet, so I can't tell you from experience what they're like, but that's just one thing that I do know from experience to kind of give you an idea of how different they can be, even though they share the same platform. All right, now let's cover the Grand American Touring family. So this is the family for just racking up miles. These bikes are quite a bit bigger in the frame. The suspension's a bit beefier. They're made to carry a lot of weight. A lot of them will either come with tour packs or have a tour pack available. I do believe any of these bikes up here that you see without a tour pack on it, you can get with a tour pack. And a tour pack is this third luggage bag with the backrest back here. So that's just geared for somebody that's going to be spending a lot of time on the road and packing a good bit of luggage, and they're going to need a good bit of storage area. So kind of like the Softails, these bikes are all going to share a lot of similarities. They're all going to share very similar frames. You've got just a couple different variations. So like the Road Glide Limited comes with the tour pack, comes with the fairings down here on the crash bar to give you a little bit more wind protection. So this one is really oriented to somebody who's going to spend a lot of time on the highway, rack up tons of miles. That's what they designed this bike for. At the bottom here, you see this massive jump up in price for the CVOs. CVO stands for Custom Vehicle Operations, and these are basically customized bikes straight from Harley. They've got the biggest motors that Harley offers. They got the 117 Milwaukee 8 engine. All the paint jobs are custom. The rims are custom for these bikes. This wheel set here is only available on this bike. This paint scheme is customized for this bike. You can't get it on any other bike. Basically every bell and whistle and feature that you can think of that Harley has to offer, they put on their CVO edition bikes. Adventure Touring. So this family consists of the Pan America and the Pan America Special, or S. Both of these have the same motor platform as the new Sportster S. They actually had this engine first, the Rev Max 1250. It's tuned a little bit differently, aimed at a little bit more horsepower, whereas the Sportster S is aimed more primarily at the low-end torque end of the power curve. Basically the same bikes. The Special has a bit more technology. It has an adaptive suspension, so as you speed up, it raises the suspension up, and then when you slow down, it brings the suspension back down, so you can reach the ground at stoplights and stuff. But then you have more ground clearance when you're rolling, so that's a really cool feature. And it's got a little bit more technology in it. But these are their adventure bikes that Harley came out with. You know, this is for the guy that wants to spend a lot of time and miles on their bike, but they might want to dip off the pavement every time they see a dirt road. So this is a really cool way to enjoy motorcycling and see some different scenery that you might not be able to get to with a traditional bike. It's a really cool class of bike, the adventure touring bikes. They're becoming very popular lately for good reason. And I think Harley did a great job on this bike. I'm probably going to do a video specifically about this bike, but for now we'll just, like I said, cover the broad strokes. So the trike family is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a three-wheeled touring bike. So you've got the freewheeler, which is basically a trike that is designed on the Road King platform. Then you've got the Tri-Glide Ultra, which is designed on that Ultra Glide platform. So you've got the big fairing, crash bar fairings to give you a little bit more of that wind protection, the big back seat for a passenger, and then of course you've got the CVO Tri-Glide over here. Same thing that I mentioned with the other CVOs, just everything about it's custom, from the wheels to the paint job, the seat, just a totally custom trike from Harley. And lastly, we have the electric family. So in the electric family right now, they have the Livewire. I think as time moves on, they're probably going to develop a few more bikes in the electric family, but for now, this is what they've got. And this bike is very sporty, very fast. I think everybody by now knows that electric motors are all about instant torque. I think Tesla's made that pretty famous by now. So you get all those benefits that everybody knows and loves about electric vehicles in a two-wheeled package. Since you have all that performance, you know, Harley made the riding position and everything a bit more aggressive. Went with Brembo brakes, and this bike, from what I've heard, I haven't ridden one yet, but from what I've heard, this thing flies. It's got a bunch of customizable ride modes, so you can adjust it based on performance. You can prioritize battery life or performance, whatever you'd like to do. So that's a really cool bike. Like I said, it's alone right now in the electric family, but I think as time moves on, you're going to see more and more bikes pop up in this electric family. Alright everybody, so that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you love all things motorcycle related like I do, both on and off road, please consider subscribing to the channel. And leave me a comment down below and let me know what type of bike you would be leaning towards if you were looking at buying a new Harley Davidson right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.